Mike Meriton, the co-founder and Chief Operating Officer of EDM Council, and my colleague, is going to take us through part 2 of our program. The first part, he's going to share with you some exciting things happening at the EDM Council. Then I think, Mike, you're going to be moderating one of the panels, and then we're going to wrap up towards the end with one last panel. So, Mike Meriton, co-founder and COO, take it away.
Good. Hey, thank you, John, and welcome everyone. Good to, as John started at the beginning, it's an exciting time to be in data management, and I think you'll see in a moment and over the next 15 to 20 minutes all the different ways you can get involved with council activities to collaborate and share on some really important topics. So let me get going. We thought a good thing to do was to share formally our mission statement, our principles. You know, when you have a lot of growth, you start thinking about, wow, where are we going and what do we want to be? And we've been operating for 16 years, which is a long time, but things have just been really exciting at this point. So mission is to elevate the practice of data and analytics management and support the role of the data professional. And of course, you have to back that with principles. So we believe in a responsible, data-driven organization and establishing data literacy for all. That's a very heady mission that we think all of our members are striving for. And it's a journey that no one has fully achieved, but I think a lot of people are now focusing on how does the council help through industry collaboration and providing that neutral platform. So we've now grown globally. You'll see a lot of the new logos coming on board in both the financial industry and many other industries. And these are the 6 things we do for members. For those that are new joining today, you'll see 6 advocacies: best practices, driving standards, training and certification, research and benchmarking. Regulators are part of the membership because of our neutrality. And we also network everyone together to build these activities as a collective, as an industry group. So like everyone 14, 15 months ago at the beginning of the pandemic, we were very worried about what would happen with a trade association. But in fact, data has only become more important. And in fact, we've had over 100 companies join the council, which is a 50% growth in the last 14, 15 months. And I break this screen into sort of 3 segments. On the far left, many of our heritage has always been financial industry. So really some new exciting logos, like especially in APAC, ANZ, and Westpac, certainly in Australia, to have the pillar banks all come on board, which has been wonderful. One of the largest banks in the world is Agricultural Bank of China, I think number 3 in assets worldwide. You also see Union Bank of the Philippines, in Thailand, C-Money recently joined us. In Singapore, OCBC had joined the EDM Council over the last year or so. And then in the middle of the page, you'll see the large digital companies, especially for the work the council has done with cloud. So Microsoft, Google, and Amazon have all joined the council. They've been very involved in the cloud data management workgroup, which we've just published some deliverables on. We'll share that in a moment. And they've also joined the board of directors. And then you'll see a collection of logos on the far right of new industry chapters like Michelin, in India, Ditcha Birla Group, a really well-known conglomerate across many industries. Also TVS Motors, a major automotive and motorcycle manufacturer in India, joining the council. In the last 2 weeks, Coca-Cola joined the EDM Council. You also see retailers like Loblaws is the largest retailer in Canada, S Group in the Nordic region, and other wonderful companies. So the council has had very exciting growth, data and analytics only growing in a greater way across all of these different industry segments. So a little more about DCAM. Many of you have heard of this. If it's a new acronym to you, the top left, you'll see that it's 4 letters and it stands for the Data Management Capability Assessment Model. And out of all the companies that we've shared, 62% of our members worldwide are using DCAM to either help them with their new program initiation, to train their teams, and to assess and benchmark and audit their programs. And a new addition to DCAM has been the addition of analytics. This was recently added in the last 2 years, and we now offer the option. If you look at the prior slide, 7 of these capabilities and components are around the data supply chain. So things like your data architecture, data quality, data governance. These are the mainstays of managing your data supply chain. But many chief data officers today and data programs also have responsibility for their analytics programs. So that was a very important addition. And in fact, these 7 new capabilities and underneath that, 36 sub-capabilities can be used to scorecard and assess advanced analytic programs. You'll see all the capabilities there, everything from it's established, are you aligned with data architecture and data quality, are your models operational and established, do you have the right culture and education, and underneath that, you have the ability to scorecard the readiness of your organization. So now there are 2 choices, really, or really 3. You can scorecard your first 7 components, which is your data supply chain. You can scorecard your analytics and do that independently, or you could do all 8 components together, which is a great opportunity for all programs, no matter where they are in their data management journey. Another thing that's been done, and there are more of these being released, is we've mapped all of data privacy bills like GDPR, CCPA in California, and others as they come available. India is soon to be passing PDPB, the Personal Data Privacy Bill, as it gets through Congress. Canada's about to pass an act. So all of these data privacy bills are creating very significant challenges for data programs, cloud migrations. We've actually done full digital mappings, the full 200 pages of GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation in Europe, that came effective in 2018. And it maps all the way across the screen digitally into DCAM, which means you can assess your program and then cross-reference by jurisdiction. Am I meeting the data privacy bills or other things like BCBS or other regulations and policies? Now, the other thing we do is certainly we have many training classes. These are the upcoming September dates across the globe in the 3 major regions. And another really good thing is that DCAM is now available as a self-paced e-learning course. And we're seeing many of our members now sort of mix between the live class and others taking the course on an e-learning basis. So a lot of optionality now on getting trained and certified. And now today, thousands of people are trained and certified worldwide in DCAM as a standard for data management and analytics best practice. We also have a companion course. When we released version 2 about 2 years ago, we worked with some of the industry experts on data ethics and responsible AI. And in fact, Diana Asher built and added into the DCAM work group around this entire topic. So DCAM today now incorporates all of these principles. And if you're leading in your business or working on data ethics programs and responsible AI programs, we now have a 2-day certification course that's available for you coming up in this month of October. So that's all of the stuff on the flagship. Now let's talk about all of the exciting work groups that are going on. We're going to cover at least 4 of them on cloud, data ROI, ESG, and knowledge graph. So you're going to see I'm talking in New York style, a little bit quick in this particular part. So on to cloud data management. Why did this start? So over a year ago, in about March, April of 2020, we were approached by a couple of the cloud companies and as well some of our major members saying we're facing a common challenge, which is the average firm that's mid and large size, 93% are using 2 or more cloud providers. So we're looking at the likes of either Amazon, Google, Microsoft Azure, IBM, or an internal private cloud as well. And then the issue is how do you define consistent best practices in a hybrid cloud world? And how do you make sure you can evidence to your compliance and third party and your regulators that you're protecting sensitive data across multiple public cloud companies? And then finally, how do you accelerate when you have all these different jurisdictions and regulations on data sharing agreements and cross-border data movement? So the council was approached by companies to say, can you take what you've done with DCAM and now extend it into the cloud specifically? And what we did is we formed, this is the largest work group we've launched since we've been operating for 16 years. It includes over 70 companies today. So you'll see on the left side, many of the majors, over 17 of the 30 largest banks worldwide joined in across all the geographies. We had data providers. You'll see in the middle of the page, all 4 major cloud companies have been involved, with about a half a dozen to a dozen engineers, and other tech firms like Snowflake, Calibra, Informatica has been very involved, Big ID, Data.World, Privitar, and more. And then as we've been building the framework, we've been systematically briefing regulators like the Federal Reserve System in the US, the SEC, in the UK, both the Bank of England and the FCA. We've been working on briefing in the European Union organizations and regulators and central banking authorities. We've done 2 discussions so far with MAS in Singapore and similar with APRA in Australia. Why are they interested? Because each of them, or each of these regulators and central banking authorities and others throughout the world, they similarly are working in their supervisory arms on defining what will be the regulations, how will they inspect and confirm the protection of sensitive data. And at the same time, obviously, we're booking out go-to-market plans and training courses and publishing this in Q3. Now, you may ask, what is this framework? Well, you'll see this is the table of contents. On the left are the 6 components: data accountability and governance, data catalog and classification, accessibility, usage, etc. Then you'll see the capabilities, sub-capabilities, and these are auditable and scorable. And in fact, we published last week these 14 controls that the work group has identified as the critical controls for managing sensitive data in a hybrid cloud environment. And as you go around the circle, starting at the bottom, you start first, of course, with the controls around governance and accountability. It then moves into the controls across each of the components. And then finally, the first control that you see is making sure the other 13 are operating. And this is a 20-page publication. Now, for everyone on this call, this is now available as a free license for both members and non-members to download off the EDM Council website. And then later in September, in 2 months and 60 days, the entire 160 pages of the framework are available for all companies to download. All you need to do is register your company so we can keep you apprised of any updates to the framework. This is highly sought after at this point. When we released this last week, in about 24 hours, we had hundreds of people and companies downloading this. So you can go to the site and now download this directly yourselves. So these are the 2 documents coming out. As mentioned last week, we published the 14 controls. It's about 20 pages of guidance. And then in September, the full framework will come out, which will include these 14 controls, but have broader guidance for both the data practitioners as well as the cloud and technology providers. Why are we doing this? To create a trusted marketplace where everyone, whether it's the company, the cloud provider, the application providers, the consultancy and system integration firms, and importantly, the regulators, everyone can now have a common set of requirements to evaluate and assure that companies are protecting sensitive data in a hybrid cloud environment. So that's the rollout plan for CDMC. If you'd like to get involved, you can also visit the website and join the CDMC work group and be made aware of any of the upcoming updates. On to another program that's been very exciting that the council has launched. One of the top requirements is the ability for the chief data officer and the data program and analytics programs to establish the return on investment across their program, their projects, and data as a potential asset on the balance sheet. So in the last 60 days, we launched the Data ROI Work Group. This group has just started operating over the last 2 to 3 months, and they're planning white papers and recommendations to be published before the end of the calendar year. So if this is an important topic for your CDO and for your team, just join this work group. It's active today, so there's plenty of opportunities to contribute and be involved. Another area to be involved is many of you have been involved with ESG data and ESG related programs and investments. And the acronym stands for Environmental, Social, and Corporate Governance. And an amazing statistic, this was actually published by Bloomberg not too long ago, that 1 out of 3 dollars worldwide, which is $53 trillion by 2025, will have an element of ESG tied to the investment. But like all things, this is a data supply chain issue. And you'll see moving left to right on this chart that there are suppliers of how companies actually report their data. There are data aggregators like Bloomberg, Refinitiv, and some of the ratings companies that create essentially metrics and report out data feeds on these investments. And then there's the investment companies that actually create portfolios that have ESG holdings. And then you have the ultimate asset holders. And then, of course, regulators and standards bodies overseeing this. There's over 26 worldwide. So you might say, well, what's the challenge or what's the issue? In each of these 4 areas, and these are the 4 work groups, by the way, for the ESG work group, there is not consistent standards at a data level worldwide. And the council is working on this and planning to publish results. And it's a very active work group with 80 companies, 120 people worldwide. So if ESG data is important for you and your program, please join this work group. It's available. The ESG, the cloud, the data ROI, they are open work groups for both members and non-members to join and participate. And the benefits, of course, as members, is you get advantages with training programs, some additional digital tools and more. But it's a great way to get started with the council and participate. So a little bit about knowledge graph. This is a big topic for the EDM Council. You know, this slide says, hey, in 50 years, knowledge management has really gone through a big transformation from the original mainframe where everything is stored in one spot to relational databases, which are tables and rows and related by common primary keys. You say, well, what's knowledge graph? Well, knowledge graph is highly multidimensional, interrelated data and concepts where the concepts and the data are separate but interoperate. And it sort of emulates the way humans think. We relate data, and that's what a graph does very well, especially with new data sets. So the council has been advocating knowledge graph now for 10 years. We have ontologies or semantic concept maps that can be used and downloaded. Many of the vendor companies that are part of the council have now built accelerators. So whether it's for FIBO, we recently published an automotive ontology. We're working on other industry ontologies. These are open source for vendor companies and end companies. And we have hundreds, if not thousands of downloads now of these ontologies as accelerators that speed up the ability for companies to implement graph because they don't have to start with an ontology that's a blank piece of paper or semantic concept map. They can leverage some of the industry work that's been built by the council and other partners. In fact, we've actually created a graph lab that takes combinations of our members, which are enterprise companies, system integrators, tech providers, et cetera. And a great example of one we just recently completed was around the area of fraud and financial crime and anti-money laundering. And we had a group of about 10 different companies all participate. And what we found was the ability to lower the cost of execution by over 30 or 40% and increase the ability to find the bad guys essentially using graph technology at a much higher rate. And a statistic shared, by the way, by one of the partners, EY, was only 1% of financial crime is actually recovered. That's a staggering statistic. That means 99 out of 100 times the bad guys are getting away with the money, so to speak. So improving this and using graph is a great way to improve the world. And this is across all industries, not just the financial industry. If you'd like to learn more and get certified on graph, we have open courses that you can attend as well. So these are great opportunities for you to join in and get training. The other thing that's been big for many companies is how do we train our staff on all of these capabilities across data quality, data governance, data stewardship. Very difficult to find non-product specific courses and to get courses even from people that are attending university and new hires into your organization. So we now have 9 different certification tracks. DCAM, Knowledge Graph, and Responsible AI and Data Ethics are now all being put up on the eLearning server. So there's now over 50 courses, and you can be trained on individual courses or on tracks. It's a quick way to essentially upskill entire teams, no matter what jurisdiction or what time zone they're in. It's all self-paced and it's backed by exams. And these are international certificates. So if you pass these exams and take the course, this is a recognized standard worldwide for your teams. And then finally, how are we bringing people together? we just launched a new release of EDM Connect, and you'll see a lot of new features to either connect to all of the library resources. You can join all of the work groups. You can communicate with your peers throughout the world. And this latest version 2 release has only made that ability easier. You may ask, how do I get involved with EDM Connect? It's easy. Just visit the EDM Council homepage. At the top, just click on Register for EDM Connect. If you're a member, use your corporate email. If you're a non-member, we welcome you. Just type in your corporate address, and you have some of the privileges to access some of these capabilities. And of course, members get full access, but it's a great way to get going with the council as well. So we encourage members to go ahead and get registered. There's a quick 4-minute video, and you'll be up and running using all these resources. And by the way, council membership is company-wide. It's not an individual membership. So for existing members, this is an unlimited capability for your data and analytic teams. So I'd like to turn the floor for a few minutes to one of our really exciting forums, which is the Women Data Professionals. So if Surabhi and also Irene could join me for this particular section, I'll turn it over to you and just tell me when you want me to move to the next slide.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks very much. So Irene, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you so much, everyone. And these Women Data Professionals was actually set up quite recently. In fact, we first had our inaugural event this year that was attended by what I call a recruitment professional who was telling us, and guiding the women data professionals in terms of how do we advance our career, how do we put ourselves most effectively across to our fellow colleagues and also our recruiters as well. So in terms of how we are set up, we actually have a global organization in terms of being chaired by Andrea and also Dessa and Mala in the global lead section. And then from the Asia front, Surabhi and myself. Surabhi is actually the lead, and I'm her co-lead from a Singapore perspective. And then we also have our counterparts in Americas and also EMEA as well. Yeah, Surabhi, maybe you'd like to emphasize a little bit more in terms of what we are doing over here and our membership base as well.
Thank you, Irene. So Asia Pacific is such a big region for the council, and we are really hoping and working towards expanding this particular group. So we have got representation in Hong Kong. We have also got Catherine Lee, who represents us in Singapore. So we have got a diverse set of people that are contributing to this very critical initiative. I would like to welcome Annie Chan, who joined us recently as well. And Annie is taking the lead for events for Asia Pacific. And as always, we are always on the lookout for good people to join the forum, to help us organize things and to basically get involved in the community. And a very quick shout out to the white paper that is in the process of being written by Irene. Irene's taking the lead on that, and that is on Singapore's individual accountability and conduct. And we will be roping in John now, taking him up on his offer. So I think that's a key paper for the region. That particular regulator is setting the scene on how they see data being so important and the role the Chief Data Office function plays in the regulatory context. So one definitely to watch out for.
Great. Thank you, Irene. Thank you, Surabhi. And for anyone that would like to join Women Data Professionals, you'll see in that little call out box on the right. And all of these groups, just go to edmcouncil.org. That's the homepage. You'll see groups, and you can go ahead and connect into Women Data Professionals and register very quickly in a few minutes. So, and it looks like the numbers have been going up. I see we've crossed 100 Women Data Professionals in APAC, and it's well over 400 worldwide across. This is probably one of the largest groups today globally that is representing Women Data Professionals. And I should note, it's for women and men that want to support this cause. So we welcome everyone to come on board and help out.